I just watched the Anthony Joshua, Charles Martin, gloves are off, Sky Sports head-to-head situation. It's like what they do on HBO. I think they call it Face Off on HBO. So it's like that. If you ain't seen it, just type it into YouTube. Loads of people have uploaded it. You can see the whole thing in its entirety. It's like 20 minutes long or whatever. First of all, I have to say it was difficult to sit through because both guys came across as very dull. AJ may be exciting in the ring, which he is, but in terms of his interviews and his personality, his media personality, he is robotic and very, very dull to listen to. So, yeah, that's what it was in the gloves are off. It was AJ giving the same politically correct, robotic answers to everything. And Charles Martin, who to me comes across as a naturally quiet, reserved character. He was trying his best to try and sound like a tough guy. Not to say he ain't a tough guy, but I mean, he was trying his best to sound like, to exude cockiness. He was trying too hard. I don't think being cocky comes natural to Charles Martin. I think he's a naturally quiet person. So he seemed like he was forcing it to me. The whole thing was pretty damn horrible to me, to be honest. I sat through it and all the way through I was just like cringing and shaking my head. This is awful. Sometimes they can be fun, these gloves are off, face off situations, but in this instance it weren't fun at all. It was actually horrible. There have been some good ones like Tyson Fury against Klitschko. That was good. And, there have been a few others. Obviously, one of the best was Carl Froch and George Groves. That was amazing. We can all have a pull and a push. I think that's probably my favorite ever, was Froch Groves. That was great. Dylan White against Joshua. That one, I guess, was okay because of Dylan White. But yeah, this one was very, very missable. Maybe you'll like it. Maybe you'll feel different. But personally, I felt like it was terrible. One of the worst ones I've seen. But anyway, with that aside, am I getting more of an inkling about who I think is going to win this fight? Yes, I am. The closer the fight gets, and what are we now? Just over a week away from this fight? 2 weeks away, whatever it is, 10 days. The closer it gets, the more and more I think Anthony Joshua is going to win this fight. There is definitely, I think, going to be some late money on Charles Martin. And there are quite a few people out there. Tyson Fury, by the way, is backing Charles Martin heavily to win the fight. He thinks that AJ's a hype job and Charles Martin's going to do it. Again, it's hard to know what a fight is capable of when they haven't fought a lot of quality opposition, and neither Charles Martin nor Joshua have fought quality, that much quality opposition. But at least with Joshua, he's got the amateur pedigree. I saw him loads of times in the amateurs, not just in the Olympics, which, funny enough, when it comes to Joshua in the Olympics, people are always fixated, obsessively fixated on the 2 fights he had in the Olympics, which they believe he lost. The Erislandy Savon fight and the Camarel fight in the final. Now, the Savon fight, I agree, he lost that fight, but he lost it to Savon, who has had hundreds of amateur fights. At the time when Joshua was in the Olympics, he only had about 3.5 years experience total. And he's going in there against a guy in Savon who has been boxing pretty much from the time he could walk. And he's had hundreds of amateur fights. So the gulf in experience between Savon and Joshua was vast. So losing to somebody like Savon is no disgrace when you're so inexperienced. It's not like he got blown out, right? He got outboxed. Yes, a guy with that much experience over you, he's supposed to outbox you, isn't he? Especially if it's only a 3-round fight. So I don't know why people are so fixated on that, as if that's some type of proof that Joshua was a hype job. Not at all. And then they talk about the Camarel fight in the final. people don't believe he won that fight. Well, he fought Camarel another time in the World Championships, and he did win that fight legitimately. He was putting it on Camarel in that fight. Go watch it. I'm sure that fight's on YouTube. Joshua against Camarel. And he fought in the final of the World Championships and lost by 1 point. And that final, I believe, was it in Azerbaijan? I think it was in Azerbaijan, the World Championships. He only lost by a point. And the guy that he was fighting was Azerbaijani. And the president was watching. So you can't tell me that in that razor close fight in the final, in the World Championships against one of the best amateurs in the world, you can't tell me that Joshua was given some type of gift there, or he only won by 1 point because there was some type of favoritism. No. So, I mean, he only lost by 1 point because there was some type of favoritism. No, he only lost by 1 point because he was doing that good against one of the best amateurs in the world. And this is another guy who's had hundreds of amateur fights. And Joshua was going in there with what? Less than 30 fights? So the fact he was able to do that type of stuff as an amateur, and even in the Olympics, he fought Ivan Ditchko, who's a very experienced amateur, highly touted amateur, 6'8", 6'9", whatever he is, much more relaxed style than Joshua. But yet Joshua beat him fair and square in the Olympics. Go watch that fight if you didn't watch it at the time. So Joshua fought and beat top level guys in the amateurs, legitimately. Forget about the Camarel and Savon fights, the Camarel rematch and the Savon fight. Forget about those. Go watch the fights against top level fighters, which he won in the amateurs. And as I say, in the World Championships final, that was razor close against another one of the top amateurs. So, I've seen enough of Joshua to know that this guy can actually fight. Charles Martin never fought at that type of level in the amateurs. He's never been in the ring in an actual fight with any fighters anywhere near the level that the guys Joshua's been in the ring with. Yes, Charles Martin is a southpaw, and that's going to be something new for Joshua to deal with as a pro, although he did fight Camarel twice and a few other southpaws in the amateurs. He was actually stopped by one of the southpaws that he fought, but the guy was a short guy coming forward, and this was when Joshua was much less experienced than he was when he went into the World Championships and into the Olympics. Nonetheless, he did get stopped. But the guy was a short guy, a pressure fighter coming forward. Charles Martin's not like that. He's not going to be able to get underneath Joshua. And again, Joshua's improved massively since then. People are saying that Charles Martin has got the power to hurt Joshua. I agree. I think he does. But this is heavyweight boxing. Most of these guys have got the power to hurt the other guy. And I'm 100% sure that Anthony Joshua's got the power to hurt Charles Martin. So if they both got the power to hurt each other, then it's all about who lands clean first. And that's going to be determined by reflexes and craft. Who's the most skilled of the two? And I believe Joshua is the more skilled. I think he's physically stronger. And yeah, he can be a bit stiff, definitely. And I'm sure he's going to address that in his fight. I don't think he's going to be as reckless as he was against Dillian Whyte. I think we're going to see more of the measured Anthony Joshua that we'd seen in most of his, or at least some of his previous fights. He was a lot more measured than he was against Dillian Whyte. I think he's going to be far more measured against Charles Martin, and he's going to take his time. I don't think he's going to rush things like he did against Whyte and try to go to war. If he does, yeah, he could get tagged and taken out. But I don't think he's going to do that. Joshua's not stupid. Although the Whyte fight made him look stupid, I don't think he's stupid. He knows what it's going to take to beat Charles Martin, who is a counterpuncher, who is a southpaw. I think the longer the fight goes, potentially the greater Charles Martin's chances will be. And the reason I say that is because Charles Martin has stopped guys late in fights. And because he's got less muscle mass than Joshua, I think his body may react better in the later rounds. You don't have those big heavy muscles that fill up with lactic acid. I think he may be in better kind of punching shape later on in the fight. But early on, I think it's going to be very dangerous for Charles Martin against Joshua, because Joshua is sharp early. He can deliver very good straight punches. And I know Glaskov is a lot smaller than Joshua, and therefore you might assume that he may be a little sharper than Joshua, although I don't think he is. To me, Glaskov was getting the better of Charles Martin in their fight before Glaskov injured himself. I think he was. It wasn't, a massive gulf between the two fighters, but personally, I felt like the body language of Glaskov and the way he was maneuvering, I think he was the ring general in that fight. And I expect it to be the same with Joshua. I think he'll be the ring general against Charles Martin, particularly early on. And I think he'll look sharper than Martin. And yeah, I think Joshua's probably going to stop this guy, I think. If you don't stop him, I think maybe he'll put him in his shell and take a decision. But I'm leaning towards Anthony Joshua stopping this guy, maybe in 7-8 rounds. That's what I'm leaning to. Maybe around the same type of time frame as he took out Dylan White. I think he's going to be too sharp for him. I think Joshua's been in there with better fighters in the amateurs than Charles Martin. And I think he's going to take him. If he gets beat, then hey, he gets beat. Charles Martin will be the next guy who will get hyped and what have you in America for beating Anthony Joshua, going abroad and defending his title, which is a very honorable thing to do. Obviously, he wants money, and he wants money quickly. So maybe it's not just about him being honorable, but whatever the case may be, if he beats Joshua and knocks him out, whatever, good for him. And the heavyweight division rolls on. It's not going to be the end of the world if Joshua gets knocked out. Certainly not for me. I love the way the heavyweight division is looking at the moment. As long as it's all exciting, then to be honest with you, I couldn't care less who wins and who loses out of this new crop of heavyweights, because they all seem to be exciting. So, most of them anyway, most of the ones that are being talked about that are highly touted seem to be exciting. So, yeah, if he loses, he loses. We'll see what Martin can do. So, yeah, that's just my feeling on it, people. The gloves are off thing was terrible, but as I say, luckily Joshua was exciting in the ring, which is where it counts most. I know it's always entertaining to have a fighter that has an amusing or sometimes controversial personality. It can be entertaining. I like it. I like Shannon Briggs, for example, because I don't really want to see Shannon Briggs fight per se. I'd watch him if you fought somebody, but I'm not in any urge or rush to have Shannon Briggs get into a fight. I just like him as a personality. He's funny. And actually Tyson Fury was saying in an interview the other day he likes Shannon Briggs. He actually called Shannon Briggs an inspiration to all men, and he meant it. He said, look at the guy. The guy is 40-something years old and he's in tremendous condition and he's so positive and he's going around encouraging people. Tyson Fury actually likes Shannon Briggs, and, I obviously, agree with his viewpoint on him. I think Shannon Briggs is great as a personality, So, yeah, personality is kind of like the icing on the cake with a fighter. But ultimately, the thing that matters most is, does the fighter deliver excitement in the ring? If he don't deliver excitement in the ring, but yet he's colorful outside the ring, I'm still not going to be that drawn to such a fighter. I'm going to get pretty tired of him. But if it's a guy, for example, like a Pacquiao, who's kind of dull outside the ring for the most part, but when he gets in the ring, a prime Pacquiao is exciting. That type of thing, to me, is a better deal, because ultimately this is boxing. Yeah, we might like this personality and that personality for the entertainment value, but ultimately when they get in the ring, that's what matters most. Like, for example, Kevin Johnson would talk a great game outside the ring. He's so funny and charismatic and all that, but when he got in the ring, he was just awful to watch. When did Kevin Johnson ever deliver in the ring? Almost never. So that is what that is. Drop your comments in the comment section below, people. I know these videos I've been uploading today much longer than usual. I've been kind of rambling and giving you my musings and thoughts and whatever. Hope some of you don't mind, but it is what it is, man. Drop your comments below and let me know how you feel about everything I've raised in this video. It's your boy Hatman, I'm out.